Hello, everybody.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Cheers.
Cheers. So, how's your day?
Day's good, man.
Yeah,
Day's good.
it's
How's
getting
everything with you?
warmer, man.
Yeah, yeah. As you guys can tell,
Yeah, you
but
wearing shorts?
yeah, I'm looking forward to the summer weather.
Yeah, man.
It's good to have the daylight out longer. Also,
Yeah,
I get to actually train outside nowadays.
yeah. That's always a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Allergies are coming and going though.
oh man,
Yeah.
allergies is crazy. This is one of the reasons why my eyes are always red.
Mhm.
Same
Mhm.
thing with him. His eyes always
Yeah,
red.
yeah.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
eye was actually it's slightly red, but before it was bad. But
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
goodness, the
Well,
hate
I mean,
allergies.
do you take allergy pills?
No, actually, they kind of come and go for me. Some years I get it, some years I don't.
I'm the same. But you know how they have ones that says non-drowsy, but why do I still feel drowsy from it though?
I don't know. Maybe it's. I wonder if it's interacting with something else that you're eating, but
Oh, could it
I'm
be
not a
that?
pharmacist, so
Like food coma?
maybe. Maybe, or maybe just something else is different. You know,
Yeah.
because if your sleep schedule changes when the sunlight affects it, who knows?
Right, right.
But so, we were talking earlier.
Hmm.
There's a lot of lesser known martial arts out there, right? So
Right.
like we know about the karates, we know about the judos, taekwondos, all that stuff. Now BJJ,
Right.
but we were saying last time every culture has this martial art that comes up in times of crisis, right?
Correct.
So I was. What are some ones that you've been talking about lately, or that you've been looking at lately?
I saw one recently. I'm actually very curious about it. Um, it's a style called okichitaw.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's created by Cree Indians.
Okechita.
Yeah.
Okay.
From Canada. So I think the style incorporates a lot of like indigenous martial arts mixed with like taekwondo and judo,
Okay.
and their weapon based style is tomahawks, lance, and a weapon called a gunlock or something like that.
A gunlock.
Yeah,
Like is that a modern one or is that an old
it kind of looks like a long boomerang stick or something like that.
one? Oh, I see it.
Um, and they said their advanced weapon is the dagger.
Mm.
So the creator, the
Oh,
founder, that
interesting.
is, he can throw like a tomahawk like 25 yards, man, and hit the target.
Okay.
Like it's very interesting. Like, but from what I'm seeing is they only teach that in Toronto, Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe take a drive up there.
Right. Right.
Toronto, I hear, is nice anyway.
No,
So.
but I'm sure there's other indigenous martial arts here too in America, like by some kind of Indian tribe. That's
Well, well, I know for a fact that there's a group that I follow for a while, and they're pretty good. Like some of my friends that train with them,
right.
and they turn out some interesting instructors. And their founder was this man named John Perkins. He passed recently, but he apparently borrowed some of his influence from his indigenous upbringing
Oh yeah.
and some of the Native American martial arts.
What tribe is he from?
I can't remember now,
Mm-hmm.
but he got it from his father, and then he blended that with other things.
Mm-hmm.
They actually do some of the combat Tai Chi movements as well.
Does he? I don't know if I probably seen this. Does he incorporate a lot of uh like daggers and knife tactics,
I'm sure they do
like with
knife defense.
like buck knives and stuff like that?
Yeah, I can't remember if they actually do it in a way where they're training with the weapons like you will see a lot of Filipino martial arts people
Yeah.
do it. But I know I'm sure they have blade defense
Right.
or movements you can use against blade defense.
Right.
But it's a lot of from what I could tell, they do a lot of conditioning. They do a lot of like balance conditioning, body structure conditioning, continuously flowing with power. So it was interesting to see. It was interesting to see, and talking about how to do the movements in different scenarios. Like if you're walking down the street and someone jumps out from the corner,
Right.
or if you get suddenly ambushed in an alleyway. So
Oh wow.
yeah.
What is do you know the name of the system?
the system originally is guided chaos. And
What is it?
guided chaos.
Guided chaos.
Yeah, yeah. So
I don't know.
yeah.
That sounds crazy. Like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
my, what's your style? Guided chaos.
Yeah, they train
That's badass,
pretty
bro.
intensely from what I saw. Yeah, I don't know how they are right now, but I know that they were churning out some pretty good instructors when Perkins was alive.
Oh wow.
And I think he died last year or the year before. It was pretty recent,
Mm.
but he seemed pretty amazing. I saw some videos of him and just hear a little bit about his interviews. He's definitely been around. Like I think he's done a lot of security stuff. I think he was law enforcement as well. So
Oh wow.
yeah, he's been around.
Damn. What other unknown martial arts that you found interesting in a way?
So you were talking about the tomahawk throwing. So
yeah.
I know that Hawaii they've done some documentaries on this, but the Lua martial art.
It's called Lua. Yeah.
Yeah. I know they do a lot of spear throwing as well, right?
Yeah,
They do a lot
yeah.
of spear throwing, and
Yeah.
spear catching.
It's funny because Max Holloway was talking about that in one of his podcasts.
Oh yeah.
Because they were talking about how Hawaiians, fighting is a part of their culture,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like he says Hawaii has its own martial arts, right? And he said it's called Lua,
Yeah, yeah, and there's other system too. It's a little bit more known than Lua outside
Yeah.
the island, like
Is Lua-
kajukenbo.
Well, is
Yeah, that's
Lua
another
like
one.
a traditional Hawaiian, like from his ancient past?
Supposedly,
type of
it's from the tribes of people that would sail from island to island.
thing? Wow.
Yeah, and they had their traditional dances that go with it, and they
So
have
it
their
could be like
traditional weapons.
it could be like a Polynesian type martial
I
arts
think it's
then.
supposed to be that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow.
Supposedly focusing on limb
Uh-huh.
destruction, bone breaking, and they have a lot of their indigenous weapons that go into it as well.
Mhm.
Like they have like this. It looks like a paddle, but it's surrounded by shark teeth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they have those, and
They,
I get
they also had this weapon that's made out of these like a turquoise like stone or something like that. Kind of looks like
Maybe.
jade in a way.
maybe probably just whatever they were getting
Yeah,
from the
yeah,
local area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always fascinating to see like the weapons that indigenous people use. Like
Right.
some of the like whatever the local wood might be from the trees.
Right.
Whatever the and then you get into some like their metalworking, so
Right.
or rock work, 'cause
Right.
when they make arrowheads. So it's
Right.
fascinating, interesting history study.
You mentioned the modern Hawaiian martial arts. I mean
Mhm.
that I'm sure it kind of influence a lot of like the Kempo karate with Ed Parker, and then you have the kajukenbo? Is that how you say it?
Kajukenbo.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. Ka, I think it was Ka for karate, Ju
Yeah.
for judo, Ken for kempo, and Bo for boxing.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've seen and from what I heard from those guys, every expression is gonna be different from person to person because
Right.
it's more for like whatever works for that individual.
Uh-huh.
And there's a few guys around here on the East Coast that teach it as well.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and is it seems like it definitely does have a lot of history on the West Coast also.
I
Like-
mean, I seen how they would do like scenario type demonstrations.
Yeah.
And a lot of their techniques almost look similar to like what Silat would look like.
Mm,
Like continuous like destruction
mm-hmm.
of like I think but then again I think they're just showing it based on what kind of moves they can transition to.
Mm.
But then that's the thing with a lot of people. People always assume that it's bullshit because they see this guy keep continuing movements. It's like, nah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not what it's for. It's to basically demonstrate that if he's in this position, he can
Yeah.
transition to this and that,
Yeah, and it's probably a good muscle memory practice also. 'Cause,
Yeah,
like, just like, as
yeah.
long as there's someone close to you or within that range, right? You just continuously move and continuously search for openings, right? 'Cause
Right.
I imagine like a street altercation, you have a lot less time to
Yeah.
think about what you're gonna do, right?
Yeah,
So
of
You
course,
just gotta
yeah.
keep moving.
Yeah. But that's pretty good training. You ever heard Myanmar's martial arts? What you call Burma
Oh, okay. I can't remember because isn't there a kickboxing style there that's similar to Muay Thai?
Yeah, it's called lethwei, right?
Oh, that one.
So the Burmese they call their kickboxing style
Mm-hmm.
the art of 9 limbs
Right. The
because they use
mm,
headbutts to incorporate in their style.
hmm.
So what people when people see it, they see that they think it's just the kickboxing only, but Burma has a rich history in many different arts. They their style is called Daing. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but Daing is like saying wushu.
Okay.
Right? So
Mm.
Daing has like many,
Just their word for martial
yeah.
arts.
So for their kickboxing is lethwei.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then their weapon system is called Banshay or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they have like it all similar to like Kuribi Krambang with
Mm-hmm.
Thailand, Muay Thai with Lethwei, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so it's very interesting to see how different cultures uh use martial arts and it's like all similar, but then it just has that just a little bit of different like signature to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, it makes you see just how much of those different systems are dictated by the weapons they had,
Yeah.
and how those movements might translate to empty hands.
But
Right.
you have you noticed that all the weapons is always like if you talk about Asia, right?
Mm-hmm.
All every like country in Asia, the weapons always similar.
Yeah.
So it's always I always feel like it's always borrowed or like
Borrowed, or yeah, there's probably just a lot of trade that goes on, right? Like if you
yeah,
look at the Silk Road that runs from like Southeast China all the way up into
right,
the Gobi Desert, all the way into the Middle East. There
right,
are a lot of similarities, especially like the broadsword, right? There's that
right,
curvature. Some of the long weapons as well, some of the
right.
spear weapons.
Well, okay. I don't know if you're familiar with a lot of the Vietnamese martial arts, right? But supposedly I don't. Yeah, I'll say it's traditional
Mm.
traditional Vietnamese martial arts. A lot of their weapons look Chinese.
Well, I know that they also have their version of Shaolin martial arts,
Okay.
and I mean, given that they're right next to China, they have a really long history with them as well, right? Like those, like they call it like the 1,000-year occupation period.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Way back in the day. Excuse me. I'm sure there's a lot that kind of goes back and forth, like,
Right.
and there's probably a lot of local tribes that probably just mix or interact and combine.
Yeah. It's quite interesting, man. Like I mean, like when I was little, every kid used to just know the typical martial arts, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I actually sat in like libraries just reading up all these different
Oh yeah, I
types
did
of
the same
like
thing. Yeah,
unique martial.
I was sitting in the same section of the library every time because it was like the
Yeah,
martial arts for kids section.
yeah,
Yeah, so I would just I'm gonna read about Taekwondo today. Oh, I'm gonna read
yeah,
about Kung Fu
yeah,
today. I'm gonna read about karate today. So yeah, I read about a lot of those guys, like General Choi, the guy who was responsible for pushing Taekwondo out there, or one of the
mm,
guys, and like Don Drager. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name correctly, but he was in Japan for a long time. He was a high level guy.
yeah.
So Bruce Lee, obviously,
Okay,
Jun
yeah,
Rhee.
yeah.
So, but yeah, I used to love reading about that stuff, and I remember reading about Silat like back in like about 20 some years ago now when I was a teenager.
Yeah, it was my high school was about Silat,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a book, uh, on the English fighting system, which kind of
Okay.
looks like Sherlock Holmes trying to like throw people around.
Well, Sherlock Holmes actually
Yeah,
supposedly was a good boxer and a fencer.
yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah, he prepared.
yeah, this system had judo in it though. It
Mm.
had some Japanese elements in it. I think it's called what the hell is it called? Bat jitsu or something like that, or I just don't know.
Jitsu.
No, but they use a lot of the cane, like
Oh,
the
okay.
cane technique.
Yeah, that didn't surprise me because I'm
Yeah,
sure back then, like if it was like the Victorian era, a lot of men
yeah,
walked
yeah,
around with
yeah.
canes, right, just as a walking stick.
I remember one time
Yeah.
my nephew was like, "Oh, "What's that fighting style that Sherlock Holmes uses?" I was like, "Batsumoto
That's about.
from Hello Kitty." you know?
Yeah, but speaking of that too, not Hello Kitty, but so in Ireland, you know, near that area, in Ireland they have what's called a shillelagh. Like
Oh
they have those like
yeah,
big
yeah, yeah,
sticks
yeah,
that
yeah,
the shepherds would
yeah,
use as well.
yeah.
It's like it's funny because I actually talked to some older Irish folks, Irish Americans now, but they talked about growing up back in Ireland. They said that they said their parents would discipline them with it.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I can't imagine because I think that's really it's like mahogany from what I understand. It's like heavy.
Do they have their own fighting style? I know they're
I
good
think
at boxing, but
I think they do. I think it is based off of the shillelagh. Like they have some sort of like they have that, and I think they have some sort of cane style, like
oh,
the
man.
walking cane.
Seems like a European thing to have a cane style.
Well, because also like the shillelagh was apparently a weapon that the shepherds use because you're out there by
Huh?
yourself.
Yeah, you gotta herd the freaking,
Yeah, you got to herd too.
yeah.
You might have to. Who knows? You might have to fend off wild animals.
Right.
People might be trying to steal your sheep. And so that was there, and also Portugal. There's a system called Jogo Do Pau. It's called the game of sticks, is what it means in Portuguese.
Oh
and
wow.
the shepherds use that too. Apparently, they use that for because a lot of Portugal is the mountainous areas. Like if you go like farther north, and a lot of the shepherds would apparently practice that.
Oh wow.
It was a PE class. It was a PE class back in the day. I don't know if maybe it still is, but
Well,
it definitely was back in the day.
Is it a martial arts or is it just something they do?
It's definitely a martial art. There's people here still around, still trying to preserve it.
It's kind of like
in Portugal.
it's kind of like the people in Peru. They have like this event where they duke it out. You've seen it?
No.
So they have this. I'm not sure if it's Peru. Can you find out if it's Peru? And but it's somewhere in South America where they have this event. Like I don't know if it's every year. They just stand there and just duke it out.
Okay.
And you see kicks, punches thrown. But some people are telling me it's their own. It's like a Peruvian martial arts, but it just seems like it's just a gathering just to like punch and kick.
So one time we were training in the park.
Uh-huh.
We were doing Filipino martial arts, and this guy just walked up near us and he was just watching. You could tell he was just intrigued by what we saw, right? So I went to him, hey, how are you doing? What's your name? What's my name? And all that stuff. And he was asking, oh, what are you guys training? I said, oh, Filipino martial arts. We're doing Balintawak. And he said, oh, okay, cool. It reminds me of machete fencing when I was in Guatemala. I was like,
oh snap!
Yeah, it was really interesting.
Dude, I seen videos on that.
Oh yeah,
it is crazy. It's crazy how they would use those machetes, man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that also goes to like just what's a tool at that time, right? Like down there's so much shrubbery that I'm sure having a machete is basically just you just gotta use it to clear your area.
Right.
So, I know it's big in Haiti too, right?
You want me to look up Peruvian what?
Peruvian like martial arts or something like fighting event.
Yeah, but
okay.
yeah,
Haitians have that too. You know.
Yeah, because I guess it's just a very available tool in that area. You talk about a tropical area. There's a lot of vegetation growth. So no, it's cool. It's cool to see what people use just kind of around them.
Right. Yeah, I mean the Africans have their own thing too with sticks and.
Oh yeah, many. I think there's many styles.
There's many different countries use some kind of. The Indians do it too. Indian martial arts. Oh, have you seen anything that in particular that you think that you would want to learn from?
I like staffs.
Okay.
So I probably would like to learn something like a Jogo Do Pau. Or maybe.
Wait, you like what again? What?
I like staff training.
Pause.
Staff. Like I said, sticks.
Right.
I wasn't gonna I like the big sticks.
You like the longer sticks. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, you gotta really turn your body into it. Use both hands and
both hands. Correct.
Yeah, right. So.
So that Peruvian fight event you're talking about, it's called for this one article. It says Takanakuy. It's an Indian fight club that clears the air for a new year.
Oh yeah, that's what I was talking about.
So
like women, children, like old ladies, they duke it out.
They duke it out
That's
just
cool.
to start a new year, which happens every December 25th. So basically on Christmas Day, people in Peru would actually have these like fight clubs to actually like duke it out just to clear the air and like start anew.
So it's like their spring cleaning.
Damn. So you mean you're trying to tell me like If I want my crops to grow correct, I'm gonna go there and fight.
No. And say like if somebody messes with your crops and you know who it is, you're gonna have to wait until. I'm assuming you have to
Oh,
wait.
you can call somebody out and be like, "I want to fight you."
I'm assuming so. Yeah, from what it says so far.
Dude, I
Hey
feel,
man, heard you were messing with my rice fields. What's going on?
I feel like that's a good idea that we should have. You know that, right? Because there's some states that have that as a law.
What?
I don't know what state it
Where's
is,
this going?
but I think you could go to the police station and have a like one of the cops like ref you, and you can duke it out with. Try to find that one out too, man. Just says a state that allows you
Allows mano y mano.
to fight 1-on-1.
Yeah. Well, mano y mano is as common as humankind. you
Yeah.
know? Every mammal has some form of mano y mano, really,
Of course,
not just
I
human
mean,
beings.
look at the Irish. They make that like because in their what is it?
There are two states, Washington State and Texas, are the only two
See?
states in the
Ah,
U.S.
okay.
I told you.
where you can actually have mutual combat, which is legal. So.
I think we gotta move to those states.
Yeah, really.
Wait,
It's like, oh, no wonder Bruce Lee
Yeah.
went to Seattle.
Wait, but are those like open carry states?
I don't. Texas is, I know that for
Yeah.
sure, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't
about-
want to duke it out with a gun.
No, fist against fist.
No, I don't want to walk 20 paces and then
Right?
turn around, right?
Oh my god.
Yeah, no
No.
OK corrals, man.
I'm not sure about Washington State, but Texas is an open carry state,
Yeah.
from my knowledge.
Mm.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy though. Like, I'm surprised there's no videos on it's nobody never knew this.
Well, even here in the States, we had rough and tumble. Like
What's rough and tumble?
So it was a fighting style amongst like different members of the middle class. Maybe not even just the middle class, but like Americans, mainly the white Americans at the time. Like people who settled in the Midwest, like throughout the country, they would do like different sorts of empty hand duels.
What?
Like if someone upset someone, if someone disrespected someone, they would have empty hand duels, and sometimes they called it rough and tumble because the focus a lot of times was apparently on eye gouging, on
snap.
grabbing the tool set. There's a lot of biting. And
Does it still exist?
I don't think so. But this is
Oh,
like the
man.
late 19th century. But like there's pictures of people who are holding those postures, like they're holding those postures that look
Oh
like
yeah.
those
like
old boxing
Irish
pictures.
boxers,
Yeah, like they're holding it with the palms up, and they're wearing like their Victorian overalls and stuff.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah,
Yo,
it
can you
apparently
imagine?
got really intense. Yeah,
Wow, that's crazy.
rough and tumble is called.
Can you imagine if that still exists? And you're like, I want to challenge you because you like my girl's photo, bro. Right?
Oh my gosh.
So there's a series called Danny Dwyer's Britain's Deadliest Men or something. I think his name is Danny Dwyer, but he's a TV host and he would go around interviewing these pretty dangerous guys like former criminals, bare knuckle fighters, and he interviewed this guy named Paddy Doherty, who was a traveling Irishman, and Paddy Doherty described what was called he said that if you had a mano a mano match, like a bare knuckle boxing match where there's rules, and you didn't like the outcome, you could then go back and say, I want a dirty go, right? Have a go, right? They'll say have a go, which means you want to have a back and forth.
Okay.
So a dirty go apparently means anything goes. Like you can bite, you can grab, you can.
Weapon.
I don't think it's weapons, but like empty hand wise, apparently anything goes.
You think that would work when people need to settle their differences?
I don't know. It works with them, I guess, but they're like a very
So you-
closed off society.
You wouldn't think it would work for you? Let's say if you're in a situation and you had problems with your neighbor, and like if there's a way to solve it instead of yelling at each other, like let's just duke it out. You think
Yeah,
it'll work?
as long as there's an agreed upon situation.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be something that we could put in wider society nowadays, because not people have a lot of there's a lot of issues out there. You know,
Right.
so it might not end there. You know what I mean?
I feel like it'll work for me because I made 3 friends that way.
Mm.
So I mean, I guess it all depends, right?
It depends, but I mean, there is probably something to be said about just kind of getting it out of your system.
Yeah.
Even Cobra Kai says so,
Right.
right, with Johnny
Right.
Lawrence. But yeah, it probably had to be like case by case when it comes to something like that. I think those of us who've done martial arts for a while, and maybe gotten into the ring a few times, that probably would work because of that culture, right? Because that fighting culture.
Right.
I don't know how that will work for the average person.
Well, I think yeah, like you said, it works if it's a mutual thing.
Yeah,
You know. I mean, what do you think, Al? You think would you? Yeah, I mean, I figure you haven't been into a lot of fights, but
I was
let's
gonna
say
say,
somebody came up to you.
I was gonna say, like, if somebody came up to me, I mean, I think it would work because I mean, I've been in like a few fights myself, but like not as much as you guys. But like, actually, we became like cool afterwards. But we were kids though. But we became cool afterwards through middle school because of that fight.
Right.
So I mean, I think in my personal opinion, I think it does work. But I also agree with Frank. It may not work for everybody because
I mean, you've been in sanctioned quote unquote fights, right? Like wrestling match, you could consider that
wrestling
also,
match.
so
Yeah, actually, I made a
maybe
few.
that interaction
Yeah,
could be similar. Yeah.
it could be similar, of course. Like you said, if they're mutual agreement. Yeah. So
But why is it like that though? Like I have a good friend right now that we met each other through that. Like
I mean, probably that's how you guys found out that you have like similar interests. Because it's duking it out.
Yeah. Well, same way that intense boxing rivalries oftentimes can result in friendships as well, right? Right. Or it could be hostile, but I guess at least you kind of have that outlet to do whatever you want
Right.
to do what you want in that setting, right? It's
like
whether
this-
you win, whether you lose,
right. So
you
it's
still
like
got that chance, right? Like at least you have an answer to the question, right?
right. So it's like Rocky and Apollo Creed, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess that's speaking about the value of combat sports,
Right.
So.
I was gonna say like they have something similar in this TV show called Yellowstone. So if any of the cowboys or ranchers like have like an issue with each other, they actually duke it out too. So they have this
Right.
big open like horse area, and they just use that area just to duke it out. And afterwards, they became like cool afterwards.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen a movie called Best of the Best?
Oh yeah.
Right. So
That James Earl Jones voice.
yeah, James Earl Jones was in it. He was the coach. He was one of the coaches, right? So, have you seen part 2, Best of the Best part 2?
I saw part 3 where they're in Mississippi.
Oh yeah, that was crazy. So
I haven't seen. I
enjoyed 1 and 2 only.
I can't remember now if I've seen part 2. I remember coming across it, but
Dude, there's like
I guess
5.
I haven't.
There's like 5 now,
Yeah.
5 or 6 now.
I guess
like
I
that.
haven't because
Yeah.
I'm sure if I had, I would remember it.
Yeah.
Because
So
I'm a fan of Philip Reese. So
yeah, Philip Reese, he's the way he moves on film, I'm just surprised he's not super popular. He's so good. Which his brother Simon Reed, he's a stunt coordinator.
Oh, okay.
In a lot of movies now, but it's just crazy how the two brothers were in it. And what's that pretty woman girl? What's her name?
Julie Andrews. Julie Andrews.
Her
Julie
brother's in that movie.
That was
Julie
a brother.
Roberts.
Yeah, the one
sorry,
with the long hair
sorry.
is her brother.
That's her brother. Oh,
yeah.
that's
Julie
funny.
Roberts. I'm sorry, Julie Roberts. Julie
Yeah.
Andrews is Mary Poppins.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty funny because now I'm used to seeing that guy as villain characters.
yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't bad in that.
Yeah.
They were kind of like, I guess him and Philip Reed were the kind of like the two main characters.
Yeah. So they had a part 2, right? But then the part 2 is now serious. So it's like now it's not tournaments anymore. Now it's about life. Like people are after them and trying to kill them. It's kind of like Fast and the Furious. In the beginning, it was about cars, and then it just transitioned to like all this crazy shit,
About family.
right? And so in part 2, the guy that played his brother that played his like his competition became friends with him, in part 2. So he
the Korean guy.
Yeah,
Well, the guy
yeah.
who was
Yeah.
played by his brother.
Yeah, so it's like because of like their fight, it kind of made them respect each other or something like that. So I'm guessing, I don't know, maybe stuff. I mean, it's probably just a movie, but that it does work in real life like that too, from my experience, man. I don't know how it is with you,
I
but
don't know. Yeah, well, Yeah, I don't know, cause I haven't had as many. I mean, I've had some, amateur boxing matches, had some wrestling matches, some tournament matches. Maybe if I had talked to those guys more after I competed against them.
Wrestling matches, and as in what type of wrestling match?
Folk style when I was in high school, Shrai Jiao,
Okay.
judo. I can see myself being friends with some of my competitors in judo.
Yeah.
Because like especially since like around here the judo community is pretty small.
Right.
So like a lot of the people know each other if you've been around for a while.
Interesting. So how you feel about martial arts with a social media presence, like how it being glorified and on TV and everything else like that?
Yeah, well, it's interesting to see the rise of martial arts influencers. I mean, I guess we're technically that now, so so we're joining that crop, right?
Right.
But it satisfies people's need for easily digestible information about different arts, right? Like you'll see all these rankings, like the top 10 martial arts for self-defense, ranking tiered the best martial arts for fitness and all that stuff. And it's okay, but it's just kind of like everything. I think the challenge to that is that everything can be shorthand, and the people with the biggest microphones can dominate the conversation,
right?
And that doesn't necessarily. It could be that they're the best representatives of the art, but you kind of don't know,
right?
Because from what I've seen, a lot of the best people who are actually good at the practice and the teaching, they're busy practicing and teaching.
Right.
They're not necessarily out there, writing articles and putting out videos, and that's valuable because it helps potentially save an art from dying.
Right.
Right. But pros and cons, I guess.
Right. It's the same thing. Like with movies. See, because I come from a stunt background, and movies that showcase martial arts is basically it's promoting the art, but then in movies it's different, right?
Of course.
So it's promoting like for example, like when the raid happened, everybody wanted to do silat now, right? When the first kickboxing movie came out with Van Damme, everybody wanted to do Muay Thai.
Right.
When the Ip Man movies came out, people
everybody wanted
to
to do
Wing Chun.
Right. Right.
So movies and media has a big play in it, even though some people doesn't represent it that well. At least it gave that push for people to be like, yo, I want to learn this. So to me, it's like I kind of agree with what you said. It's good and bad.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess there's a couple of ways that arts can get promoted, right? One of is like they're really organized. Like judo is super organized, right? Kano was a professor of pedagogy, so that was
you mentioned that is the biggest like sports, right?
Second biggest sport in the world next to soccer, right? And BJJ now is spreading really well because of the organization behind it. Taekwondo before that, karate as well. So it's like, how easy is it to produce someone who can represent the art the way you want it to represent, right? So that's big part of it. And I guess it also plays a role in what martial arts end up remaining obscure, which ones kind of stay in the family more, which ones are maybe just taught more one-on-one, and maybe the people want it that way, but that's kind of the reality of what becomes more popular and what doesn't, right? Right, especially if you get the organization and you got the cameras behind it. It's that's the recipe for possibly going mainstream, right? Going to Hollywood.
Right. Do you feel like Karate Kid was the thing that put karate on the map a bit?
That was a little before my time.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Well, I watched it, but I watched it
again, folks. I'm the oldest one here.
Well, because like I was 6 when I first actually saw a scene from that movie, but it was like
I was around that time.
No, this was like the early 90s.
It
had already been out for like 8 years.
Oh no, it's the 80s. 80s. It came out in the 80s. The first
one. 80s.
Yeah, I wasn't born yet. But
wait, what? You wasn't born yet?
Not when it came out. I was born like a couple years after that.
Wait. What year were you born?
86.
No, then yeah.
It was 84.
It was around,
that's like my wife's age, bro.
Yeah, but I remember I was 6 and I went to my friend's house and he was like, watch, he's gonna kick him when he did the crane thing. I was like, even when I was 6, I remember thinking, I stayed there for a while. So, but I was 6 years old, so I kind of accepted. I was like, all right, I guess if I hold that up, I'm just gonna be able to do that kick, and the other
No,
person's just gonna stare at me.
I mean, hey, if you don't know what that person's doing, right, and then you just stand there, you're like, what is he doing?
Yeah, that's true.
What is he? And then you get kicked by, you're like, oh. I think that's what happened,
Yeah.
right? But that era, like in the 80s, from what I've known, was what's popular was the ninja movies and the Karate Kid that made karate famous for what it is. But
Right.
people try to learn ninja too, but they didn't know where to go.
Yeah, we all wanted to be Power Rangers.
You know,
We all wanted to be Power
Yeah.
Rangers by the time I was a kid.
I remember when I was a kid, there was like a couple of these black kids.
Mhm.
They loved those ninja movies. I remember in school, and then they would do it in the talent show,
Mhm.
and they would like, they just do taekwondo, right?
Uh-huh.
And they said these are ninja moves.
There was a video. There's a video from like 15 years ago. When YouTube was still kind of starting. There was a guy called Urban Ninja.
Wait. You're talking about Urban Ninja? No. Are you talking about the funny one that like did the flip,
I don't remember him doing flips.
or the one that does parkour?
It was more parkour if it was anything, because like
I know that. Guy.
He
I
would
know
take-
who you're talking about.
if it's the one I'm talking about, like he would take he would have a camera sitting outside, and there would just be people going for a walk in the park, and he would
And he
just
just
suddenly
run?
run by. He would just
Is
suddenly
he
run
an-
by them like this, just like
Is he
running
an,
across.
Is he an Asian guy?
No, it was a white guy,
Oh, damn! There's
like
another.
a blonde haired guy.
There's an Asian guy, Cambodian guy named
Okay.
Zen.
Oh, I've wasn't he on like one of those reality shows, like one of those American Gladiator shows,
Yeah, that's him.
right?
He was also in Warrior. Remember, he was part of Joe Taslim's side. He fought. Yeah, he was in Warriors. He was one of the main dudes too.
He's
the
not.
ax-
No, you said it's Cambodian. He's not
Yeah.
Korean. Okay,
No.
never mind. Because there was a part in Warrior. I mean, we can talk about that more too when we really
Yeah.
talk about that show. But
Yeah,
those
he's
are-
a stunt guy. He's a stunt guy now.
yeah, okay. But no, this is what I was thinking about. I'm not sure if this guy is even a martial artist, but he would just run around. He would just wear a full ninja costume with
I
like
gotta
the
see this.
sword
Does-
across the back.
His video still.
I'm sure it's around there. And he was like, there would be just people like going for a walk in the park, and he would just run past him like this, and you see the people just go, what? and like he would like drop down from a tree right in front of them,
Yeah.
and there was a part where he was on the beach and he was like kicking the waves.
Yeah.
And he would like get on the beach and just like fall to his knees and look up at the sky.
Dude, I miss the old YouTube days, man. Like they had skits, they had entertainment. Like wow.
Yeah, that was when it was just like random moments of craziness,
That is funny, bro. Wow.
I remember a 10-second clip where a guy just ran straight into a wall
Right.
for no reason. he like sprinted at the wall and just jumped. And he just went psh, like flat into the wall. And it was like an
Damn.
8-second clip.
So going back to about the social media stuff for martial arts, I mean, it influenced you, no? Like that's how you wanted to learn was because of movies and stuff like that, right? Or
Movies for sure, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Movies for sure. People call me Jackie Chan, so I was like, let me look more at Jackie Chan. I mean, I knew who he was before that, but that when I started paying attention more when Rush Hour came out.
wait, not to cut you off. Have you seen? Is the Asian Heritage Month already, right?
AAPI Heritage Month.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Right, get this, right?
something like that. Yeah.
Yo. So I don't know if it's NBC, but it's some kind of news. They put the photos, three supposedly Asian Americans
Right.
as celebrities, right?
Yeah.
Which one they have? They have the vice president.
Yeah.
Who was the other guy? It's like some kind of Asian celebrity that's American, and they put Jackie Chan.
Mm-hmm. I think the other one was Bruce Lee.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's Bruce
Yeah.
Lee. But here's the thing, though. Jackie Chan is not American.
Mhm.
So I was just like, what? Why did he put him on the photo as one of the photos? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's a random spread throughout time too. You got like the 1970s, the 1990s, and modern day.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they really didn't do their research on that one. Then
yeah.
'Cause
They
it's just
didn't.
Like you could,
Because everybody was everybody talking about it. They're like, Jackie Chan is not American. Like,
That's just lazy research too, because it's like, I mean, there's been a bunch of them just in the past 5 years.
damn.
You just go on Netflix. Just go on Netflix. You
Damn.
can look around a little bit, you know.
At least put like Jimmy O Yang or like,
Yeah. Yeah.
or like, you know, or somebody that's like, you know.
Jimmy O Yang, Ali Wong, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, they're around now. Like it's easy to find now. Oh well.
Yeah. How do you feel like in your experience, like, you know, how did martial arts impact you in a way like that made you like keep going? Because I know some martial arts people always say, oh yeah, I did it when I was younger.
Right.
They always say that shit. I did it, but then they never continue.
Everyone does taekwondo when they're little. Yeah.
But why? But what made it stay with you until now?
I think it's because I wanted to do it for a long time before I finally got a chance to. Because I really wanted to do it when I was 6.
Right.
You know, I would like I would try to like learn from anyone that I thought knew it. A lot of times they didn't know it, but I thought they did, right? And when I was 14, I finally got a chance to actually formally train in like a school, right?
Okay.
And you know, there were times where I stopped and started, you know, like going to school, you know, being busy with finding jobs after that. So it wasn't like a consistent thing all the way through. Excuse me. So there were like a few times in my late teens, early 20s where it was kind of interrupted. But I don't know. I guess when I was 17, actually, that was when I was 16. When I was 16, I was a couple years in. I found out more about Bruce Lee, and he talked about, you know, the importance of being well-rounded, how obsessive he was with developing his body and everything, developing his physique. And, you know, then you hear stories about people who have like these high level abilities, right? Kind of what we talked about last time, where people have this these like almost like mystical abilities. So I always had that fantasy in my head.
Wait.
And I always had that obsession.
So when you say fantasy, like what? Like you imagine yourself throwing like Dragon Balls and shit?
Not just, well, yeah, a little bit, but I mean, I knew I wasn't actually going to be able to do that, but just I would see people who were, you know, a lot older and they were clearly still very strong and very capable, you know, like people in like their 60s, 70s, and beyond that. So I was like, oh man, you could really be, you know, strong and capable when you're older.
Right.
So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna keep trying to do that until I'm that age, you know. And
so that was like your motivation to stay?
I don't know if that was actually my motivation. I mean, there isn't like a clear motivation after a certain point, because at the beginning I just wanted to do it because partly so I could just not get picked on, right? But after a while you just kind of end up enjoying the process. I think, you know, like, and it became a pretty important part of my identity after a certain point. And this was actually the part where maybe getting stereotyped kind of helped me in that way. So which is why when people say, you know, they want to get away from that stereotype of doing that, I'm kind of like, I mean, I didn't, and I still don't. I still don't.
I feel like I'm the same.
Yeah.
Like I didn't care about if that was the stereotype. I actually like that stereotype in a way.
Yeah, it's a cool
a
cool thing to think that maybe your heritage includes something like that. You know, like why not? You know.
Well, you know, like the reason why I stayed and continued doing martial arts because I don't know. It's just a thing. You know, it's just I like it and I think it for me it was also because I like the fact that, you know, I wanted to show off a lot to like girls and stuff like that when I was younger, you know?
Definitely.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just my family when I was younger, they always thought I was just crazy about it. My dad understood, but, you know, but then my mom's side to just like, he's just too much with this martial arts shit, you know?
Yeah, my family thought that. My family thought that to a certain degree too.
Yeah.
Right, because after a certain point, it's like, all right, you should be, you know, studying and doing all the other stuff, right? Yeah. But I mean, I think they didn't mind me indulging in it as a hobby. I don't think a lot of them still realize just how far my obsession with it goes.
Right.
But you know, they see it on TV too.
Right.
You know, so they kind of understand that it's potentially something cool.
Right.
They just don't do it. You know, I'm the only one.
Right. So how does Al, I remember you said once your family kind of like were against you training, but then they kind of accepted it later on,
Well,
right?
it was at first during high school when I started doing wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And funny thing is, I started getting into wrestling because I thought it was gonna be like WWE. but when, but then when I got into it, I'm like, oh, this is actually fun. This is folk style wrestling, as you mentioned before. Like, it's really fun, and it helped me lost weight too, and I got like healthier, and I felt better. But my family was against it, because they're not really into violence. They're all about peace and like trying to work things out.
I mean,
you
same
know.
thing with the Shaolin monks, but yeah.
They started to accept it like later on, like as gone through high school, because I loved it, and I was just basically like their like, I don't want to say like like model figure, but like just like an example, I should say,
Right.
for to get healthier and like be active, because they unfortunately they weren't active back then, but when I like continued wrestling, they started like walking, they did like some the basic push-ups, or
Right.
like squats, or even they got small dumbbells. They started curling, to be healthier.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, then again, of course, it's just for me, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed wrestling, and then of course after that, I met you, Lang, to do like stunts with Filipino martial arts. Then later on, I met you, Frank, doing Balintawak. So it's fun. It's fun, and me personally, I don't know how to speak Tagalog, which is the Filipino language. So I thought learning the martial arts would like make me feel closer, and which it does.
Yeah, I hear that all the time.
Yeah, I hear that often.
Yeah, people say they, if they don't speak the language, they want to learn the culture or the martial arts so they can embrace it more.
Yeah. I've heard that often from Filipino Americans who were interested in
Yeah.
Filipino martial arts also.
They always assume that with me. They're like, "Oh, you learning Muay Thai because it embraces your culture." I was like, "Nah, I want to kick ass."
Yeah. I mean, part of that for me, it is about
Yeah.
that, doing kung fu.
Uh-huh.
But also, it was part of the movie influence. Like, I mean, Jet Li was
Yeah,
one of my
yeah.
big influences growing up also.
Yeah.
And also just seeing some of the cool stuff that different kung fu people can do.
Mm-hmm.
It's very inspiring to continue. But with Chinese martial arts, it's kind of all over the place. Like you have as far as the types of people that are in it, right? You have people who are in it for health. You have people that are in it for the combatives, the self-defense, the cultural exploration, the people who the other crowd who may not necessarily synchronize their claims with their actions. I'll just say it that way.
Right.
How about that?
Right.
But that you get like the whole gamut of people in Chinese martial arts. Like after a
Yeah.
while, for me, it's just
Well, not
you
just
get to
Chinese
meet cool
martial
people
arts.
that
I
way.
think it's every martial art like has those
Mm.
type of individuals that do that.
Oh yeah. But overall, it does nowadays. It just helps you meet some really cool folks.
Right.
Like especially since like most of the time people aren't doing it to make a lot of money, right? So you
Right.
got people who do it out of a passion.
Yeah. They want their art to grow somehow, right?
They want their art to grow, but I'm sure they want control over the quality, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so probably most people only want to really teach
Mhm.
a couple folks at a time, and plus, I'm sure traditionally you're showing something that could be potentially deadly, so you don't want to just
Right.
show it to any random guy who walks through the door, right? You don't know
Right.
who this guy is. So yeah, I guess we're kind of in new territory where anyone around the world, like for us, like New Jersey Balintawak, right? Anyone around the world can, in theory, find our information.
Mhm.
So it's interesting, exciting time, but it's also it's kind of uncharted territory with all this internet access.
Yeah.
Like it really, and I guess like you really have to kind of make sure that you're presenting the art in a way that's correct.
Okay. I'm kind of curious what you think about this.
Mm.
Do you think social media and all this stuff with martial arts being showcased a lot, especially like YouTube platforms like YouTube, right?
Right.
You think it's easy to learn martial arts from? Like, can anybody just watch a video and then be able to fight? Because some martial artists talk about stuff like that. Like they're like, is it right to display your art online for everybody to,
Yeah, I don't know, cause
you
like
know?
I've heard conflicting opinions on that.
Yeah.
I'm more of the thought that you can show a lot of what might have been considered taboo to show,
Mm-hmm.
because most of the time, if the person doesn't practice it all the time, they're not gonna know what it really means anyway.
Right.
At the same time, what you put out there on the internet is out there forever, and you never know who's watching it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it is very important to be careful over what kind of content you put out there,
Right.
especially when you're expressing an opinion about a martial art, right? Because
Mhm.
that could be someone's first impression of that art,
Right.
you know, and it could be a bit of a make or break for whoever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I go back and forth on it, but I would say, at least in our day and age, we probably don't have to be as tight-lipped about displaying certain ideas as what people might have been afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you understand why some of the old guard might be that way, because they're usually those guys who were using those arts back in the day. They use it for, you know, very serious things, right? Like hurting or maybe even worse, right?
Yeah.
So they kind of see that reality of their art.
Well, I mean, back then, I don't know if you were into reading black belt magazines back then.
Not back then, no. I never got into the magazines.
I got it heavy into the magazine because that's when we didn't have a YouTube or
Right.
TV, and if we did have TV, but you know, martial arts was rare. Like you
Mhm.
know, to display or even on a history or background of that art is
yeah.
very rare. So black belt magazines, kung fu magazines were the ones that you would like look into to see like, oh wow, this and that. And in some of these articles they have like videos by Black Panther, like Black Panther, not the Marvel,
Right.
but I think it's a company that
Okay.
makes VH, you know, like video cassette tapes from
All right.
people that would teach their art. You
Yeah.
know, like so people were learning from that. You know, like so, you know, some people I knew like, oh, you know, I bought this like Black Panther you know,
Mhm.
video and it showed me how to strike a person in
Right.
this way
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that way. They even had like the videos on like Dim Mak and or like that one white guy that was like how he was talking about snake oil before, right? And this guy
There's
that teaches you how to kill somebody with one, you know, like they have books on that,
well,
bro.
there was Count Dante.
Yeah,
Back in
Count
this-
Dante.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
you
yeah.
go. Yeah, yeah.
Apparently, he was actually legit though. Like he was like a judo guy. He was like a karate black belt. He started off like legit, but after a while, he kind of went off into his little
That's weird.
echo chamber.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So
But
yeah,
he
like
wouldn't be the only one who's done that.
yeah.
So.
But people follow these books, man. Like
Mm.
they learn from it, you know.
Yeah. So I guess in that sense, in many ways, is a good thing because
Yeah.
it kind of it takes away the mystique of it because you see it more
Yeah.
often.
Yeah.
Right? So people after a while, I think if people see it so much, especially now with the rise of combat sports, people want to see something that they could personally experience and actually feel.
Right.
Right. So in some ways that it can actually squeeze a lot of that out. Right. Like a lot of the whole like I don't think anyone nowadays. Well, never say never, but I think fewer people nowadays probably believe in that you can learn the Dim Mak thing by reading a book. You know.
Yeah, that's
I feel like that's kind of a thing of the past.
it is a thing of the past.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because at that time we didn't have like UFC and all this other
Mhm,
stuff yet, so
mhm.
we don't know. You know, we only believe some of us do in fact believe some of the movies that
Yeah, yeah,
portrays it.
Yeah, but I guess
You
also
know?
like I don't know. What do you think about like the idea of throwing the baby out with the bathwater too? You know, because like I think sometimes people
What?
try to.
What was that?
You know how they say that saying like throw the baby out with the bathwater? It's like you wanna.
I never heard of that saying.
Yeah, but either way, like
How can you be younger than me and I never heard of that saying? Wow.
my soul was 300. No, but I don't know because I think some people. Because remember how back in the day there was that Bushido website?
Yeah.
Yeah, because some people want to be able to spot the myths in martial arts, right? So
Right.
I think because of that, it's easy to kind of go too far with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like they'll say, oh, just because you're not sparring full out all the time every day, then it's it's a garbage martial art,
Right.
right? A lot of them didn't believe in practicing forms, a lot of them didn't believe in like any sort of like traditional practice, So I think that might be going a little bit too far the other way,
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that? Like, what are your thoughts on like tradition and the importance of that when it comes to like the validity of a martial art?
Are you talking about like the forms and well,
I guess the whole thing, like the forms, passing down from teacher to student and
right.
maintaining a coherent lineage,
Well, with me is I feel that it is important.
Mm.
Because it's something to know about the past,
Right?
And to preserve the past, and see how if we can like try to make it work in the future. Okay, it's kind of like this. It's like to some martial arts that I know, right? They say traditional martial art is bullshit, right? And they say like, well, you can't use any of those old, authentic traditional martial arts because it's not going to work in modern day
Right.
place. Which it's in some degree, yes, that is true, right? But I don't see it as like a combat thing. I see it as like a historian type of way, or like preserving a history, because I don't know, a lot of people would like that. I love to know where it comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
So on that, and when it comes to forms, right? People ask, well, do you think forms it's good practice? I believe in forms.
Same.
You know why? Because without forms, I wouldn't be able to move a certain way. That like for example, like if we're doing fight scenes, right?
Yeah.
If we don't have forms, we won't be able to showcase and move that way.
Yeah.
Or like when you're boxing, or like with forms, it might help you do those slips or ducks or like whatever it is. Like
Yeah.
you can execute it perfectly with like forms, because that's just embedded into your system.
Yeah.
When you train.
Also lets you practice it solo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I 100% believe in forms. Not a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
You just gotta pair it with that contact training. If
so
you want to really the full experience.
You believe in forms because.
Oh, for sure.
Because you know why I feel that it works for you? Because when I see you do your balintawak strikes, I can clearly see that your movement comes from forms. Like,
okay.
like, especially because you have, a Chinese background, and you have the wrestling. The way you move is all there. Like, and the way you incorporate it is just perfect.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Yeah. So it is forms, man. That's how forms, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the idea is like for me too, that, and part of that does come from the Balintawak influence. Some of that comes from the Kung Fu influence through my Xingyi teacher, Matt Staley.
Right.
The form itself, training the movement from the form, it doesn't have to be like divorced from the combat potential. Like you might not throw the punch exactly like that, but if you were to actually use it, but combat athletes don't either. Like if a boxer had to use it during a match, he's not going to use it exactly the way he would when he was shadow boxing.
Right.
But is there enough?
Right.
So forms are worth its weight in gold when it's done correctly.
Right.
In my opinion, I agree with you there. And
what do you think of forms?
I mean, it really does help on like giving like a proper like movement or like strike, because without it, it's gonna be weak and it looks sloppy. But but with the form, it looks clean, and you can give that right amount of power to actually hurt a person.
Well, people are gonna say, well, when you fight in real life, it's not gonna look.
Yeah, it's not gonna look like that. Yeah, but I mean, at least when you have some knowledge of the forms, at least you at least maybe in a real fight you can like sneak in a little bit of that form and then hopefully get a hit.
Okay, I get what you're saying. So you're trying to say, with forms, even if you did do a fight and then if you fought somebody and looked sloppy, at least you kind of like did it kind of proper. That way you could protect yourself in a way, and like you don't like accidentally like threw a wrong way and then pull something, or right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
I see what you mean. Yeah. So you're building that baseline. You're building that baseline of conditioning
Like
up.
like conditioning to
Yeah.
throw a proper strike.
I think. Well, it also doesn't help that there are a lot of people who do forums that don't really understand the application.
Yeah.
So that image kind of gets out there too.
Yeah. I know a lot of people
Yeah.
like that.
I mean.
No, like
there's
I
a lot.
know people to do perfect forms, right? Do all these amazing, beautiful forms. I was like, so what does that mean? No, because I'm sure forms is based off like I was like, okay, this is a block down low, and then now it's going up high. Like those what forms are for.
And I think also like the other test for it would be like if you put something in front of them, you say, all right, here, do that block on the bag, right? It should hit the bag correctly, So yeah, it needs to be done with feedback,
Yeah, because I see in class when you would make us strike the bag with the stick, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you kind of like kept correcting us, so it's like form based in a way.
It is, yeah.
So when you move and then the way your hip moves with it, and like if that was not like forms, I think if we did it really hard without knowing those movements, we'll probably pull it back.
Yeah.
Pull some kind of muscle with the swing. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you do it a lot over a long time. Yeah. You'll hurt yourself over time.
Right.
But yeah, and also like the idea with forms, every athlete does forms training. Track athletes do form running, basketball players would shoot around. So
right.
I don't think anyone will say that Usain Bolt can't run away from someone in real life. just because he does his running in perfect conditions. But yeah.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess that's kind of the thought too. It's also just a great way to pass down the flavor of the art, over the course of generations, and kind of get an idea of how someone did it back in the 1920s or something,
Well, I get that, but sometimes people see it as. Actually, I want to ask you about that too. Do you see it? Do you see tradition as also a way of saying it's a cult? Because people do see it that way too. Like, oh, you're just passing down tradition of just.
I don't think it has to be labeled as traditional for it to have cult tendencies though.
Well, some schools is like cultish, man.
Oh, they're out there, but what I'm saying is like groups that might have that cultish tendency, they're not always the ones that will be labeled as traditional.
Okay.
So I think that's fairly universal.
Yeah,
right? That could kind of go. I think that depends on who your leaders are and what kind of people end up going into the art.
Yeah.
So but the tradition can definitely be a factor. I think that could be a factor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially if it's if it's maybe kind of cloaked in myths. Like it was founded by this person 5,000 years ago. So it could definitely lend itself to that. But I don't think it necessarily has to have that for it to be a cult.
Yeah, there's some schools that it's to a point where they just worship the teacher so much. It's kind of like it's not even a you're there to learn martial arts anymore. It's just you're following like a religion kind of,
Yeah. I think it's something and you probably had this happen too, right? It's like something that as a teacher that you kind of got to actively guard against a little bit. Right?
Yeah. What you mean by that though?
Like make sure that you don't start believing in your own hype if people start giving you a lot of praise,
Yeah, I mean, Al, you know me, right? Like I don't hype myself up, man.
No, you just
like I'm always truthful, like 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 all the past clients they would ask about certain things. I'm always telling you the truth. I don't hype it up to make it seem like I'm all that or.
You're humble about it, so you're just telling just what's need to be said. You didn't want to like show off and like say, oh, I know all these other stuff too.
Even though I am blunt, a lot of people do say I'm blunt, but I need to be humble too, though. you can't always, I mean, some instructors out there, man, they take it way up here, and then
Yeah.
they're like, oh, I'm this guy, you need to respect me, cultish. See,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
See,
Or they get upset if you
yeah,
kind of explore outside the art.
yeah,
So it's still out there. I mean, humans are humans. Humans have insecurities, and
right,
humans kind of want that adulation a lot of times, right? That admiration. So
yeah. Um, have you ever been in a situation like that where you had an instructor that was like that with you?
not blatantly.
But
Uh,
but you feel that he feels that way,
Well,
or she.
whenever. So I've had instructors that I would go back and visit over time, and sometimes when I tell them that about doing, when I tell them about other arts that I'm doing, they'll kind of slyly insult it and say you should come back to my class.
Oh, okay.
So that's happened as well.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah. So I mean, it's disappointing because when you're a little kid and you see this adult teaching you this thing, and they're good at their art, right? You put them really high up in your mind. So when they do something like that as an adult, it's not a good feeling.
But then they're not saying it to you. They just gives you that weird, It's better. I think it's better than the person actually saying it. Like, oh, if you're gonna go learn that martial arts, then don't come to me.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, they're definitely not saying don't come back.
Yeah.
If anything, they're saying the opposite. It's like, oh, you should come back and learn the real stuff.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so there's that part.
It's like when you want to be a man.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you're ready to grow up. But I haven't had anyone. I don't think I've had anyone say don't come back if you're doing this other stuff. I haven't had that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you had that?
I had that once.
Man, what was that like?
Look, man. In my defense, I took a Groupon
Right.
lesson, okay? And I
Okay.
just wanted to see what it was about. And somehow this instructor that I will not name, I found out that I was doing that, and he got pissed. He was just like, if you want to learn that martial arts, don't come here again. Yeah. I was like, all right. But that went to a point where it just turned me off, and I was just like, you know what? Even though I didn't do that on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I just freaking canceled my membership. I was like, nah,
Yeah.
I can't deal with this,
Yeah. I mean, I have heard of other people's experiences where that's happened as well.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like that, but like they would try to like control who the
Yeah.
students talk to, and like they would try to control who they train with outside, and the students would be
Yeah.
adults, so
But it was weird though because that person was always a nice person, treated you well, always asked about your family and this and that, and then when he just found out that I was doing that, this is a different side. It's like weird.
yeah, I guess everyone has their
Yeah.
sensitive areas when
Yeah.
it comes to that. But yeah, that's a bit of a strong
Right.
reaction. That's a
I
bit
don't
of an
know. I don't know if it was just me, but I think he probably lost other students too because students were sitting there listening to this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was
so
so
he
embarrassing.
He
was
actually
like,
said that in front of people.
yeah, I think he
Wow.
was just so mad, like, and
Yeah.
it was embarrassing because they had like other like student like parents were there. When he said that, I just walked to the locker and just left.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like,
Well, he told you not to come back, and you're like,
Yeah.
all right.
I said, all right.
So,
This was the weird. It was a weird experience. That's the only time it happened to me, though. But I'm sure like other instructors, like they know that I dabble in other styles, so they're always like,
yeah.
when they don't want to hear it, they'll try to change the subject.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I guess also that second part is probably pretty common. Like a lot of people are a little sensitive if they know that you're also training other stuff, right?
Well,
If they want to retain you. Yeah.
That is okay, because I think they understand that they do, even though they do feel that way, they need to keep it to themselves too.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like they don't want to lose students.
Right.
I think this is about it, bro.
Mhm.
Like, I enjoy my time always, bro.
Yeah, it's always a good
talking
time.
about this, man. We definitely keep doing this and see where it goes.
Mhm.
I mean, I appreciate everybody out there that supports us and watch our episodes all the time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Al, for everything as well.
Thank you guys for including me. It's
Yeah.
great learning from you guys and also like sharing my input and my experiences. Thank you so much. And
No, you got it, man.
and
Yeah,
it-
thanks for being the man behind the curtain.
and
Right.
everybody, thank you for listening. And also, if I may say, if you have any questions or comments, please put it in the comments section, and we'll like try to include it in the next episode.
us
and
know.
Yes.
yeah, let us
Any
know.
Likes and subscribe, please.
Yep. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know if there's anything that you're interested in that you want us to kind of get on in the topics that we talk about. So, we're just a couple of guys talking.
Right.
A few guys talking.
Right.
Al's here
Right.
too. Yeah.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Enjoy your time.
See ya.
Bye.